Hi, I'm Megan, and today I'm going to be talking about the foramina and fissures of the skull. So there's actually quite a few, but I'm only going to focus on 12. Okay, let me take the top off. And here you can see inside we have the anterior cranial fossa, we have the middle cranial fossa, and then we have the posterior cranial fossa. And you can see lots of foramina in here. We're going to start at the top. Here, I'm using pipe cleaner so we don't mark it up. Is the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone, and inside this there's probably around 20 little tiny foramina, which are little holes for the olfactory nerve, fibers of the olfactory nerve, which is cranial nerve 1. So then we move down here to the sphenoid bone, and as you can see right here, put this through it, and then let me show you this view right here. We have the optic canal. In the optic canal, cranial nerve 2, the optic nerve goes through this, and also the ophthalmic artery. Next, we're going to talk about the third one, is the superior orbital fissure. So if you can kind of see right here, and then let's look at the anterior view, so you can see the superior orbital fissure, which is beside the optic canal. Through this, it's also the sphenoid bone, and it separates the greater wing and from the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. In through this, there's several things. We have the third cranial nerve, which is the oculomotor nerve. We have the trochlear nerve, which is cranial nerve 4. And we have a branch from the trigeminal nerve, which is cranial nerve 5, and it would be the ophthalmic division. We also have cranial nerve 6, which is the abducens nerve, and we have the superior ophthalmic vein. Okay, those are the first three. Now the next three I'm going to go through. Also, we're still going to be in the middle cranial fossa. We have the foramen lacerum. Now the way I like to do these three right here, I think Los, L-O-S, like Los Angeles. So we have foramen lacerum, foramen ovale, and this little tiny one right here is foramen spinosum. So right here for foramen lacerum, I'll show you another view right there. So the boundaries of this are formed by the temporal bone, the sphenoid bone, and the occipital bone. And mostly it is filled with cartilage. So it looks like a hole now, but usually just cartilage, so there's not anything running through it. Okay, here, foramen ovale is also in the sphenoid bone. Let's show this view from it. Okay, what goes through this foramina is the mandibular division of the cranial nerve 5 trigeminal nerve, and also the lesser petrosal nerve and accessory meningeal artery. So for foramen, try to get this through here so we can, there we go. You can see this right here, this view. So it's also sphenoid bone, and the middle meningeal artery goes through this. Okay, the next three I'm going to talk about, we have the foramen rotundum, which is up here. It's near the superior orbital fissure. You have to kind of turn it this way to see it. And then it is also sphenoid bone. This is the last branch for the trigeminal nerve. The maxillary division goes through this, cranial nerve 5. Then we have the carotid canal. So you can't really see it from this view, so I'm gonna flip this over. And here is the carotid canal right there. It's temporal bone, and the internal carotid artery goes through there. So flip you back. Now we have the internal acoustic or auditory meatus, part of the temporal bone, and here it is right here, if you can see that. So facial nerve, which is cranial nerve 7, goes through this. Also cranial nerve 8, which is the vestibulocochlear nerve. And in addition to that, the labyrinthine artery and vein also pass through here. Now we're going to go to more in the posterior cranial fossa, and we're going to talk about the jugular foramen, which is really big. You can see it right here. Pull this around. The jugular foramen. So this is formed by the temporal bone and the occipital bone. Cranial nerve 9, which is the glossopharyngeal nerve, goes through here, along with the vagus nerve, which is cranial nerve 10, and part of accessory nerve, cranial nerve 11. The internal jugular vein, obviously, also goes through here, and it's formed, the internal jugular vein is formed by the inferior petrosal sinus and the sigmoid sinus. Next, we're going to talk about the hypoglossal canal, which is in the, right here, I have to turn this. It is in the occipital bone. And the way I find it on here is you look for the occipital condyles, you can see right there. So the occipital bone, the hypoglossal canal, the obviously hypoglossal nerve goes through there, which is cranial nerve 12. And also you have a meningeal branch of the ascending pharyngeal artery that passes through. So save the big one for last right here. This is the foramen magnum in the occipital bone. Through here we have the vertebral arteries, some roots of cranial nerve 11, the accessory nerve, and then we have the spinal cord. So it's the end of the brainstem, beginning of the spinal cord. Let me show you this view right here. So we just went through a lot of information. So to break it down more when you're studying, I suggest breaking it into threes. So studying in threes helps to break stuff down because it's just a huge chunk of information. So I learned this because at first I would start studying everything at once and it was too much and overwhelming. So I would pick 3 things on the skull. So pick just 3 foramina and just learn those 3 over and over until you feel like you know it. And then it'll be really quick. Then add 3 more and then go back, test yourself on those 6. And then take a little break, come back and add 3 more. And before you know it, you have all the foramina memorized. So happy studying.